Welcome back to Navy Sports Magazine. Time to shine a light on Navy men's lacrosse with Patrick Skalniak. And, you got a little heritage in your family. Your dad was a lacrosse player here, obviously a third-team All-American, class of 1983. Was it always your intention to come to the Naval Academy, or did any other school have a chance to grab Patrick Skalniak's services?
So growing up in Texas, my coach came up to me and was like, started talking about college choices. When my dad came here, it was always in the back of my mind, but it wasn't really my first choice. Serving the country was a big thought for a high school kid. So I was really just all lacrosse, and originally I was committed to Syracuse.
Right.
And so, I had a humbling, conversation with my dad, and I eventually made the decision to switch when I got the opportunity. And I want to say that it was a little bit of, family type of heritage, but at the same time, this was the right fit. It felt like home, and it's just been in my blood since day one. So, it really worked out well.
Obviously now, those of us within the lacrosse community, broadcast Navy lacrosse, we know what the Episcopal School has done. And obviously there have been a couple of schools, Dallas Jesuit, that have, put out lacrosse players that have actually ended up here. But growing up in Texas and playing lacrosse in that environment, when did you really know that, hey, maybe I've got the wherewithal to play, as you mentioned, obviously to attract, schools like Syracuse and Navy and others. You're playing it at a pretty good level. When did you know you were pretty much on that level?
My dad always told me from a young age, just don't worry about your opponent, just focus on yourself and get better every day. And during high school, you saw the success that these Dallas teams have, and it was really, the four power driving, like St. Mark, CSD, Highland Park, Jesuit. And once you're competing with those teams at the best, competing for a state championship, you don't really notice you have what it takes until, you might get some college letters or something like that. I want to say as a team, though, just competing with the guys like teammates like Nakai Montgomery, like guys shining at, college level. Once you're working with those guys and competing against these types of guys that like Jesuit, you don't really notice it until, it's towards the end of the season competing for a state championship. And, that's when you're like, okay, maybe I can do this. And then you take the next step, summertime, recruiting, and then it all just, piles on after that.
Obviously, getting to know Coach Amplo now for all of you is, still a relatively short time you all have known him. How is that relationship going? The trust factor that obviously he is building with you, and then you all are building with him right now. You've had the fall. You've had obviously, a couple of scrimmages here in the spring and a couple of games. How is all of that coming together for you all right now as a group?
From the get-go, the plebes on the day before I-Day, we met with Coach. Just the confidence and the energy that he carried in his voice, it was really attractive. And the fact that, we want to play for this guy. Like, you do anything for him on the field and off the field. And I think in the fall ball with the tempo and the different type of style from what Navy's seen, and when it comes to coaching, it drew all the guys together, and it was just super energetic. And, I want to say from day one, there's been no doubts. Everybody's been, full force, trust, energy, just really trying to get Navy to back where it needs to be.
I was going to say, with all that you all go through during the course of the day, I imagine sometimes that energy that you see around 3:30 or 4 o'clock probably helps you all get through practice some days, doesn't it?
Exactly. You think you might get some time off here or there, but, us midshipmen, we're always doing something.
Sure.
And so while it does get tiring, it's the fact that, oh, man, I get to be with my boys for the next 2.5 hours doing the thing we love to do, people we love to be with. So, there's nothing better than being, Coach says this all the time, like, just look at the atmosphere you're at. You're right by the water, playing the sport at an institution like this. Like, there's just nothing like it.
I was going to say, I promise you within the next month or so, it'll get a lot better here on the banks of the Severn during practice as well, instead of those earlier practices in February that are in the upper 20s and low 30s. A lot of responsibility for you here early in your career. How have you dealt with that? And obviously blending in with your new teammates here to try and get this thing going, because I know there's a lot of hunger within that locker room right now to get this program back to where it thinks it should be.
Yeah, I don't think there's much. I don't want to say dealing with it. I think it's everybody leaning on each other. The success that we've had so far in the season has been as a team.
Mm-hmm.
There's never an individual person. Nobody cares about stats. Everybody just wants to get the team better. Um, and with everybody super motivated, and having each other's backs, it just makes the process that much fun, that much more fun. Excuse me. And yeah, it's just being in the locker room, walking out to the stadium. It's just gives you chills every time you do it.
I was going to say, walking through that tunnel, you've had a chance to do it twice now for real with the games. What has that feeling been like to be able to walk out of that tunnel into obviously one of the best venues in all of college lacrosse?
Right. I think the best venue. It's unlike any other. You being a recruit, you sometimes get to see the team come out of the tunnel and be like, oh, I can't wait till that day comes. And then you blink, fall ball goes by, and you blink, you get your first game of the season. It's just so, it's like, like I'm here now, like now I just need to perform. And I know all the other plebes are just, it just gives you chills every time because it's just a new team, and it's really, it leaves me speechless every time.
Conference play starts this week. Obviously now these games become even greater in terms of importance. You all have had a heck of a distraction here of late, as well as some of your teammates who've been fallen with the norovirus. What's it been like getting everybody back on their feet now, and obviously now with a big game really to get ready for here now coming up on Saturday?
Well, going to a place like this, you learn to roll with the punches.
Mm-hmm.
The norovirus did definitely, it's set. I don't want to say set a team back, but we kind of had to push back and canceling the Maryland game. It was pretty disappointing, but we just got to get healthy, and we had a good day of practice yesterday, getting back into the swing of things, and I think the guys are just really antsy to just get after it. Prepare well for Lehigh, and just focus on ourselves one day at a time. Though, don't ever look too far ahead. Stick to 200 feet in front of us, and just focus on the small things each and every day.
That's guys listening to his coach, because I've heard those same things from his coach. Patrick, appreciate the time. Best of luck to you and your teammates on Saturday.
Thank you very much.
You got it. Patrick Skalniak joining us here on the Navy Sports Magazine.